Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining Ayoa and Spellex for our joint webinar on supporting neurodiversity via our own assistive tech solutions. Today there'll be plenty of chances for questions, so please feel free to type them in the Q&A as we go. And now to probably kick things off, I'll hand over to Sean from Spellex, who will firstly be taking us through his product and talking about how it can help neurodivergent individuals in both education and professional life. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and then it'll be over to you, Sean.
All right. Well, thanks to Ross and our friends at Iowa. Hope everybody's doing well today. Give me a moment. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. All righty. Well, I'll go ahead and get started. My part will be fairly brief. I'm going to show you a few features of our software. Then hopefully we have a few minutes left at the end for some Q&A. But again, thanks to Ross and our friends at Iowa. Now, so for those of you that don't know, Spellex is a US-based company that has been around since 1988. We now have over 3 million users around the world. We actually started out as a spell checking company, specifically for the medical and pharmaceutical industries. And in fact, we still do that to this day. However, our software has kind of evolved over the years to become more of an all-in-one assistive technology solution, if you will. Now our software is especially useful for individuals with dyslexia, ADHD, dysgraphia, and others who have difficulty processing auditory and visual information. Now, all Spellex spell checkers are offered in US, UK, Canadian, and Australian English versions. Two of the programs that I want to talk about today are Spellex Write Assist and Dictation Gold, which are basically our complete solutions that help individuals improve reading, writing, comprehension, and focus. They allow students and professionals to minimize their limitations while improving reading, writing, and other speech capabilities. So you'll see here some of our assistive tech solutions and our British English industry vocabularies. Again, we have American English, Australian English, and Canadian English as well. So let me go ahead and get started. I want to show you our spell checker in action. So you'll see here, this is actually our spell checker for Microsoft Office. And again, Spellex provides intelligent and distraction-free spelling correction and covers specialized industries, including medical, engineering, scientific, botanical, and much more. So this is an example of the medical version. We always include a test document with purposely misspelled words. So simply right-click on a word, and you'll see the suggestion. Spellex includes, for instance, this is our medical version. We include about 300,000 medical and pharmaceutical terms, again, specific to your region. So if you're in the UK, you would get our UK version, US, you would get our US version, and so forth. Now, another nice feature that's also included is the definitions dictionary with audio pronunciations. So the Spellex definition feature allows users to search for definitions, synonyms, audio pronunciations without ever having to leave their program. So again, you just right click on a word here and select Spellex definition, and you'll see over here on the right hand side here, it actually gives you the definition. So for instance, right click on small, select Spellex definition, I'm gonna go from there. So let me go ahead and open up another sample test document here so you can kind of see our program in even more action. Aside from the spell checking, again, as I mentioned, we have evolved over the years to include more AT solutions. So when Spellex is installed, you'll see this toolbar inside of Microsoft Word with all these different AT features that we have. So let me go ahead and start from left to right with our features. This is our custom type font that was designed specifically for people with dyslexia. It's known as Spellex Dyslex. So a common condition among dyslexics is that letters can easily become inverted, disordered, reversed, or otherwise jumbled. So you'll see when I'm within the document here, just click Dyslex, and it actually converts it to our specialized dyslexic type font. Every character is designed to eliminate or reduce the difficulty in character interpretation. The great thing about this is if someone else comes to the computer that necessarily isn't dyslexic, they can just click it and turn it off, and it goes right back to the original font that the document was in. Let me show you another neat little feature that's built within the program, and this is called MedExpand or Phrase Expand, depending upon the version you have. So MedExpand is our text expansion tool, which can make you more efficient. save valuable time by instantly displaying commonly used medical or even common English phrases with fewer keystrokes. So here's an example. The patient was diagnosed with COPD, and you'll see it actually expands it to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Thousands of commonly used English phrases are included, as well as medical phrases, and these are all included in the user guide so you can see it in action. Click back over here to our sample test doc here. Now, spell check reporting is also included. So users can now view a detailed report highlighting each word they've misspelled in the current document. Really, it's really easy to use. I have some purposely misspelled words here, as you'll see. Click Enable Report, and then click Create Report. And it actually opens up as a PDF, and you'll see it gives you the misspelled word, the top 3 suggestions, unless it's fairly obvious, and also the sentence or the context that it was used in. You can save this as a PDF, and it's a great way for users to learn from their mistakes. Go back here to my sample document here. Now, also included is a magnification reading ruler to help improve focus in a large text. You can use this reading ruler to improve text for low vision users. To activate it, fairly simple. Just click Zoom Ruler. Now, the default zoom magnification is 200%, but can also be customized. Now, also included within the program is a text-to-speech feature. Spellex allows you to do this all without ever having to leave your program. So as you can see, just highlight some selected text, click read the selected text.
Down the rabbit hole. Alice was beginning to get very tired.
Stop it, play it again. As you can actually pause or stop the feature anytime and select different voices. It's kind of a neat little feature that a lot of people like. And again, all without leaving the program. Now, what I want to show you now is our Dragon enhancement. It's kind of hard to show this in a webinar format, so I'm going to show you a quick video. But basically, we include specialized vocabularies that integrate into Microsoft Office and Dragon. Comprehensive English comes standard, but again, many vocabulary options are available for individuals studying medicine, law, veterinary science, bioscience, engineering, and more.
Here, using Microsoft Word, we will show you an example of a popular speech recognition program working without Spellex dictation. Let's give it a try, shall we? First, we will try some phrases from the field of medicine. He was prescribed Zyvox for a bacterial infection. The doctor's only choice was to perform a radicectomy. Now, let's try some phrases from the field of law. The judge only wanted to see irrecusable proof. The exhibitant was on trial for grand larceny. Lastly, we will try some phrases from bioscience and engineering technology. Autoproteolysis pertains to the breakdown of proteins. The scientist used ferromagnetography to adhere the magnetic ion particles. As you can see, these important medical, legal and scientific terms are not recognized by your standard speech recognition program. Now we will demonstrate how Spellex dictation enhances your standard speech recognition program. We will test the same phrases with Spellex dictation installed. First, we will try the phrases from the field of medicine again. He was prescribed Zyvox for a bacterial infection. The doctor's only choice was to perform a radicectomy. Now we will try the phrases from the field of law again. The judge only wanted to see irrecusable proof. The exhibitant was on trial for grand larceny. Lastly, we will try the phrases from bioscience and engineering technology again. Autoproteolysis pertains to the breakdown of proteins. The scientist used ferromagnetography to adhere the magnetic ion particles. You will notice that the program now recognizes the important specialized industry terms that were inaccurately transcribed before Spellex dictation was installed.
All right, and again, you kind of see those features in action there. It's a neat little option. And also, before I wrap up, what I want to mention is we do have currently in beta, we have Spellex for Chrome. Now, Spellex for Chrome is going to include all these AT features that I just showed you in Microsoft Word, but also it's going to give you audio note-taking, audio notes, translation, OCR. So this is going to open all these features up to web apps and more. So we're pretty excited about this, and again, it's very complimentary for individuals who have dyslexia, ADHD, dysgraphia, and others, again, who have other difficulty processing auditory and visual information. So I will go ahead, and that's pretty much my part of the presentation. My contact information is here if anybody has any questions, or feel free to put it in the chat now. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that people might have. So it looks like George was asking about compatibility with Mac OS. Yes, we do have compatibility with Mac OS, as one of the panelists did describe there. Yeah, let's see. And Grant, yeah, it looks like Grant did ask the same question. Yes, we do have Mac compatible versions for the Mac, as well for our dictation, as well as our Microsoft enhancement as well. All right, and again, so my contact information, I'll be following up with all the participants as well, but I'll put my contact info again up here for anybody who needs it. Let me just go ahead and share it one more time. Again, my contact information is here, sean.sullivan@spellex.com. My direct phone number here, as well as our website if you need any more information. And with that, I don't think we have any more questions. I've scrolled through the chat, but I don't see any more questions. So I think at this time, I'll go ahead and I'll turn it over to Ross.
Okay, thank you very much, Sean. That's great to learn about Spellex's products and how they can help. Definitely, if nothing else, I've definitely learned a few new words, none of which I believe I could probably pronounce in all honesty. But anyway, here at Ayoa, we are less about the words, thankfully, and more about the visual. So what I'm going to do now is share my screen, and hopefully everyone will be able to see that in a second, and it will become a bit more clear about what I was just on about then, about being more visual. So hopefully you can now all see my screen, and to complement Sean's insights and Spellex, I'm going to talk about some of the ways neurodivergent employees can be helped, and do so whilst using our piece of assistive software called Ayoa. Doing so this way will mean we will inevitably focus on practices which can be achieved within Ayoa. However, we are aware that our standalone solution won't be able to help everyone, as we are, after all different. And that is why in the weeks to come, we will be running more webinars on the broad topic of neurodiversity. But what have we got to showcase to you today, and how, when used in the right way, can it help? Well, we have our neuro-inclusive collaborative digital workspace. Now, that might sound like quite a lot, but on your screens, you're already seeing part of it in the form of a radial map, which has neatly broken up the core components of Ayoa into small, manageable chunks, which I can delve into deeper by focusing in on, just like I'm doing now. So in this instance, it reveals how mind mapping, a core element of Ayoa, can be applied, what some of its benefits are, plus a few of the features within Ayoa's mind maps. In reality, there are a lot more, but these are the ones which we think can really help people with neurological differences, many of which we have specifically developed due to direct feedback we have received from neurodivergent individuals. So, as you can see, mind mapping's qualities make it naturally a process which would be beneficial to the neurodivergent community, and one which can be applied to a lot of familiar scenarios. So let's see some of these mind maps in actions to explore how they can help neurodivergent people. First up, when this hopefully loads and the internet comes back. There we go. First up, we have what we call a speed mind map, being used for a remote meeting in which everyone can contribute to and collaborate via in real time. This style of mind map, as you can see, is defined by its evenly spaced branches, which are automatically organized in an orderly layout, making it ideal for either people who like structure and clarity or could instead benefit from some. However, whilst being able to work in a visual yet orderly manner such as this can be helpful for some, it unfortunately won't in any way reduce the magnitude of work which someone may have to engage with. Depending on an individual and their circumstances, workloads can sometimes result in stress along with feelings of being overwhelmed. It's therefore often recommended for people to close off bigger distractions and focus solely on that which is immediately important to them, especially those with ADHD. Ayoa speed maps can help with this too though, thanks to every branch having the option to be collapsed. As you can see, it therefore means users can remove all excess noise to be faced with something far more manageable, and then, if they wish to see the big picture again, they can choose to expand their branches. As mentioned at the beginning though, everyone is different, and working in a structured and restrictive way may not be ideal in some circumstances. In contrast, for some people, it is far more beneficial to work in a visually stimulating format, so that ideas can continuously grow and expand. This is where traditional pencil and paper mind mapping really took off, but in Ayoa, we have recreated it via our organic mind maps, which you are now seeing. In this format, users can move and curve their branches freely to better reflect their thoughts and support their creativity. But that's just one of the ways in which Ayoa's flexibility can help those with neurological differences. The options continue with users being able to select a background color, which will work best for them. So for example, we've got a range of different pastel colors, which can be a background, along with the traditional, more mellow, creamy yellow. And we also have an entire area designated for even the most seemingly obscure ideas, and that can be found in the top left for them to be stored in what we call the idea bank. It is, after all, common for people with some neurological differences to not think linearly and instead sporadically sprout the most brilliant ideas. And that is why we have the idea bank. By offering a space for intangible ideas which haven't even made it to your mind map yet, Ayoa therefore continues to make space for endless possibilities. Also, it manages to store them in a safe space rather than on a risky scrap piece of paper, which are notorious for easily being misplaced. Now, when they become relevant to your mind map, you can drag and drop them on like I've just shown you. Finally, another practice of flexible working to mention, which transcends across education and into professional life, is being able to change the format of your work so that it can be produced in a fashion which most suits the creator and then can be changed into a professionally accepted style. Unfortunately, mind mapping isn't a very common structure for professional pieces of work, but it nevertheless enables high quality work to be produced. It therefore seems wrong to not allow people to work via them. So in order to enable mind maps to still be of benefit to people with their work, in Ayoa, we therefore have the option to transform any mind map into the universally accepted format of a Word document. So they are some of the ways in which the activity of mind mapping, and more specifically, whilst within Ayoa, can help people with neurological differences. However, although mind maps are really good for planning, coming up with ideas, facilitating meetings, structuring essays, being used as references, and much more, what about everything which happens because of and outside of a mind map? We're not going to pretend that Ayoa means that everything is done for you. It is just a piece of software. But with its task and project management capabilities, it enables for the fundamentals such as communication, task management, progress updates, etc., which all allow work to be achieved to be accomplished by everyone. What we will therefore state is that Ayoa's task and project management means all team members can engage with those important principles to the best of their capabilities, which is crucial because without those actions and without the people who make up your team, nothing would ever properly get done. So now let's take a look at how Ayoa has succeeded in making its task and project management neuro-inclusive, colourful, flexible, and a great tool for anyone looking to manage their well-being by improving their time management, organisation, and stress levels. First of all, what you will notice is that this does not look like your traditional piece of task and project management. Instead, it's very visual, colourful, and clear. But this is just one style of Ayoa task boards, as it is important for everyone to be able to work in a style which best suits them. Therefore, users can choose to switch whenever they like between our very visual, mind map inspired Canvas mode, which you're seeing now, to a more traditional linear list workflow style, or even to a time-orientated Gantt timeline, whatever works best for them. Like with Ayoa mind maps, flexibility also continues in our task boards and can be found again by how categories can be named whatever they like. How custom tags can be added to tasks, and how an unlimited number of reminders per task can also be created to enhance time management skills in an attempt to combat stress. More can also be done regarding stress and feelings of being overwhelmed too, though, when the filter bar is employed from the bottom left of the screen. This handy tool means users can focus on specific items of work, whether that be those tasks assigned to them, if it has any tags added to it, or when its due date is, for example. The result, as you can see when I search for the tag which we just applied to a task a minute ago, is that everything else is forgotten and just the chosen important tasks remain. But then, if a user then wants to see the big picture again, they can remove all of the filters and then all the tasks reappear. So, whilst it is always good to minimize negative feelings such as stress, it is also equally important to maximize positive feelings too. With Ayoa tasks, this can be achieved with the progress bar. You'll see that when updated, it is visually reflected on a task with a proportionate ring going round to reflect it, negating the needs for lengthy and wordy communication. Also, when the progress bar is moved all the way to 100% to show that it's completed, other members can then send a message of congratulations to those whose responsibility it was. And on that note, I think it would be good to wrap up what we have for today. Like I said, we know that Ayoa isn't right for everyone, but by implementing some of the suggestions I illustrated today via Ayoa, despite them being small changes, they will make big differences to people with neurodivergent differences. Obviously, this will immediately benefit neurodivergent individuals, but also those who they work with as a direct consequence of leveling the playing field. And it is also a really good point to emphasize that Ayoa isn't just for the neurodivergent community. It is a tool which can help neurotypical people enhance their creativity, become more organized, and also excel too. Overall, with everyone being so different, it is all about having as many flexible options as possible and finding what works best. With Ayoa, we give people a way to work digitally in a very visual manner and in a style which suits them. And I think why we are striving for so many options is best summarized by a quote I heard the other day, which said that people aren't disabled by themselves, they are disabled by their environment. Thank you ever so much for all listening and joining us for our webinar today. Obviously, we still got the Q&A section, so if you have any questions for myself or Sean, please feel free to drop them in there now, and I'll take a look to see if we've got any to answer. Thank you. So we've got one question from Joe asking about how people can collaborate at the same time. Joe's trying to find that out. So Ayoa as a piece of software runs on the cloud. So it means that everyone can collaborate in real time. If you would like to collaborate with people on a mind map, for example, or a task board, you'll see in my screen right now in the top right, there's an add button. And if you click on that, Joe, you're given this pop-up. And in this bar, you can add anyone from this list. And these are all the people that I've worked with on Ayoa before. So it's remembered it for me to be a quick, easy shortcut. But if you've never worked with them on Ayoa before, and you know they use Ayoa, and you know the email address they use to log into Ayoa, just type it in this bar, and then you'll be able to add them in. And then the final option is if they've never used Ayoa before, they don't have an Ayoa account, and you'd like to collaborate with them, again, just type in their email address, and they'll receive an email to join the free version of Ayoa, which has some restrictions on it, and they'll also be added into your mind map or your task board, whatever you're hoping to collaborate on. Just going to have a look at some of the other questions we've got. Someone's asking if Ayoa is recognized by any bodies as an approved piece of assistive software. So yeah, first of all, we are an approved piece of assistive software by the Disabled Students Allowance Scheme, which is run by Student Finance England via the government. We're approved by them as a piece of assistive software. And also recently we got approved by the British Dyslexia Association, so we're accredited by them. And on our website, down the bottom of the footer, we've got all the information regarding that. So you'll be able to find out more about that there. Tim is asking if we've got any simple tutorial videos about using Ayoa. Yep, we've got a few of them online on our YouTube account. We also run weekly webinars where we go in a bit more depth to Ayoa. So obviously we just grazed the surface today, and we're showing sort of emphasizing how it can help neurodivergent individuals, some of its strengths in those areas, but to give a more well-rounded illustration of what Ayoa can do and all of its capabilities, including all of its features, we do weekly webinars, and we do have a few YouTube videos online too. Murat is asking about the circle mind map, which we've got up here. This is called a radial map. And whenever you go to create a mind map, so if I go back to the home page and you click on new, you'll see that you can pick from the 3 different styles. So we've got speed, which is a very structured one, organic, which is your creative. And if you'd like to use the radial map, you just select the end button here. Another good thing to note is that even whilst you may have started off in the organic style, like I've got with this one, in the options bar on the top right, I can click view as, and that will allow me to switch between the different styles, and it will reflect exactly the same information, but just in the different format. Derek's asking about more Ayoa video tutorials, specifically about linking tasks to projects. Like I mentioned a minute ago, with the webinars that we do, they'll cover that sort of feature. And we do have a few tutorials online on YouTube too. Someone's saying that in the past they've added someone to a mind map, but they can't change anything. This might be because when you add people to a mind map, you can also select which permissions they have. So we've got a range of permissions such as admin, which means they can do anything within it. Default means they can edit it again, but they can't remove other members from the mind map. And then read only would be the option which restricts them from being able to change anything. So that might be why you might have accidentally selected that access setting, and that's why they can't edit. Seeing what other questions.
Ross, if I can jump in, looks like Brian was asking a question about TTS or text-to-speech built in. I'm not sure if that was directed at us or you, but Spellex, our Chrome version, will have text-to-speech built in within the browser. So,
nice. Yeah, that's great. So we don't unfortunately have text to speech, but it is something which we're working on. If it's also asking Ayoa, but we're yet to have that yet, but we're developing it.
Since it is browser based, it would most likely work with Spellex once that Chrome version is available. So that's good to know. A little synergy there.
Just trying to see if we got any other questions. People are asking about costs. Again, I don't know if this is Spellex or Ayoa based. Ayoa is a subscription model, so you can either choose to pay monthly or you can pay yearly or 2 years. The longer your contract, obviously, you make bigger savings. And you can also subscribe just as a single user, or you can subscribe as a team. So it might be a team of 10, a team of 20. If you're within the education sector, whether that be a pupil, a student, a lecturer, or a teacher, we offer 35% off because we obviously realize that mind mapping is a really good tool for people whilst trying to educate themselves. So that's a bit of information about costs. If you'd want to see the whole pricing scheme, I'd advise that you go to our website, ayoa.com, and there is a pricing page on there.
And that's the same for Spellex as well. If you go to Spellex, SPELLEX.com, you can see all of our pricing there. Now, we do have annual versions as well as single user versions. And we are DSA approved and SFE funded as well. So if any of those students or assessors are involved in that, we do have special versions available for them.
Someone's asking about templates. Yeah, this might be about Ayoa, but if you've created a mind map or a task board which you'd like to use again and again, if you go to the top right when you're within it, you'll see there's a settings cog, and you can create a template from a mind map, and you'll have your own personal library of templates which you can then use again and again as starting points for your mind map or your task board. I think that's all the questions we've got Ayoa based. Sean, I don't know if you can see any more for you guys at Spellex.
Let me scroll through really quick to make sure. Again, I did put my contact information there, and I'll probably be following up with a few people as well who did ask some questions in the chat. So everybody, if you have any other follow-up questions, outside of this webinar, feel free to follow up. I'm available, to answer any questions. And again, just like Ayoa, we do our own webinars as well. Even some smaller versions with the one-on-one formats have been very successful. So if anybody would like to set that up for their organization, do let me know. Feel free to reach out, and we can definitely set up a one-on-one webinar that's convenient for anyone.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good point, actually. We do also do demos for people who'd like for a bit more assistance, but like we say, we have the general webinars where people can still ask questions. So I think that is probably all the questions we've got. Thank you everyone who joined. We had a great turnout. Hopefully, having seen both of our pieces of software is inspired with you some ways of how neurodivergent individuals can use them and benefit from them. Like Sean, I've just put my contact details added to the mind map now. So if there are any other questions later, please feel free to follow up. And also please feel free to fill out the feedback form, which we both really appreciate you filling out. And be sure to check out for any more neurodiversity webinars, which we've got coming up. Thank you very much, guys, and hopefully hear from you soon, and all stay safe. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you, everybody. You guys take care.